What is up, everyone? Welcome in to the St. John Fisher University dorms for day 2 of training camp, which practice is in the books, which means, as always, shout a Buffalo Bills football podcast post-practice edition. Ryan, these are some of our favorite shows all year long. We've been cranking all morning, all afternoon in the Insider text line. You can join right now. I sent out 14 today. And that's just the start. I think there was 8 or 9 videos in there. 716-528-6727. Become an insider right now. 2-week free trial, $3.99 a month. After that, and we are going fast and furious right now. How are you, my friend?
Matt, I am doing great. I'm excited. As soon as this is over, getting in the car, heading up to Rochester so I can be with you for the next 2 practices. But let me tell you, it feels like I've been right there with you these first 2 days with all of the texts that you've put in on the insiders. I know exactly what we're going to discuss, so I'm ready to go too here. Let's talk day 2 of Bill's training camp.
And again, the preface here is no pads still, right? The Bills are ramping up 3 or 4 or 5 days of practice likely before we see the team put pads on. So you got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt, or at least put it in its proper perspective. But I know a lot of fans have been asking a ton of questions about, like, where's Curtis Samuel? Like, you go back to the OTAs. How come you guys aren't talking more about him? Did he do anything today? What's going on? Well, today was the big breakout. And it didn't matter who he was catching passes from today. It was Mitch Trubisky. It was Josh Allen. He was making big play after big play. And there was 2 that really stood out, Ryan. And I want to talk about the first one that I really think caught my eye was towards the end of practice. You know, it was the athleticism, it was the speed, it was the versatility, all those things in one package. And, you know, he kind of was on the right side of the field, ran down the hash marks a little bit. Allen with a small window throw fits it in perfectly to Samuel, who kind of has to go up a little bit to catch it, brings it down probably 25, 30 yards down the field, falls to the ground when he comes down with it. But I'm pretty sure he pops back up before anybody touches him. He runs into the end zone. Maybe somebody grabbed him. Maybe it wouldn't have been a touchdown. But the point being the same is that this is a guy that's starting to flash what the Bills kind of envisioned when they gave him a 3-year, $24 million contract. He's lining up all over the formation. You know, he's a guy that can do so many different things. And I think you're starting to see that play out on the field. I mean, when him, Khalil Shakir, and Keon Coleman are on the field together, you're starting to kind of see the picture. There was another play where Kyer Elam was sent in on a blitz, this close to getting Josh Allen, missed him. Allen kind of scrambled out, was able to get outside of the pocket, and he saw Curtis Samuel kind of coming back in to make a throw. His patented, back across his body throw right on a line to Curtis Samuel, who makes this great play, runs down the field. He had the people going today. Yesterday was the Dalton Kincaid show. Today was the Curtis Samuel show.
And I can't say I'm surprised, Matt. Curtis Samuel is a perfect fit for what Joe Brady wants to do. We've already seen what he can do for Joe Brady in 2020 when they were in Carolina. 800 yards receiving, over 800 yards receiving, 200 yards rushing, 1,000 total yards. That was in a COVID year. That was where they barely got to work together, and yet you still saw him take off, have the best season of his career. Joe Brady recently in a podcast with Eric Wood said they want to do a little bit of everything with Curtis Samuel, and this is Joe Brady being able to do the Joe Brady offense. The one thing I felt like when he took over as interim offensive coordinator that we didn't see as much last season was the pre-snap motion, was getting guys going around, which helps Josh Allen diagnose what the defense is going to do, how they're aligned, who's going to be covering who, or what they're going to be doing. That's Curtis Samuel's bread and butter. You can move him around. You can put him in the backfield. You can line him up inside and outside. He can do a little bit of everything. He's proven that in his career, and he's never had a great quarterback. Now he does. Now he's coming to a system that he already knows and he's comfortable in. And he finally gets a chance to be, I'm not going to say the guy, but one of the main guys in this passing attack. I think it's going to work out great here just because of all the little things he can do. You can hand him the ball. You can have him in the backfield and go out on those little screen type of passes. You can have him use them the way that they were trying to do Stephon Diggs last year with the quick outs and have him create there. You name it, Curtis Samuel can do it and do it at a high level. So I'm excited for him, knowing, he hasn't had as great opportunities in Carolina and in Washington. And here in Buffalo, I could see him kind of being an offensive Ed Oliver, outplaying that contract very quickly.
And the thing that you'll see, and the people that have been out at practice, and when we get into the preseason games, what you're really going to see is a team that, of course, is constructed in a way where there's some guys with similar skill sets, right? Like a lot of questions were asked about having Samuel and Shakir and Hamler, who all kind of like smaller slot projections type of guys. And so you get all those guys on the roster and you're like, how are they going to all work together? But I think Joe Brady said it best today when he was asked a specific question about a wide receiver. I can't remember who it is fitting into a certain bucket, if you will. And he was like, listen, we don't have like specific wide receivers, like for spots. Like we like to teach concepts. We like to everybody to know what all the receivers on a play are going to do, because it actually makes a lot of sense. It's super smart. If you think about the way that an offense runs plays and the routes of different receivers, if you know what a guy's doing on the opposite side of the formation or on the same side of the formation, how much better equipped will you be to know, all right, where do I have to break? Where do I have to turn? What do I have to do on my certain play? So they're cross-training these guys every single day. And so I think that we're going to see Curtis Samuel in a number of different ways. There was one play where Josh Allen kind of found him on a nice play. I can't get too much into it, I guess. I'm trying to think, how much can I say here? How much can I not say?
Yeah.
I won't go too down the line. Just know that the creativity possibilities with Curtis Samuel, they're going to be fun.
They're going to be a lot of fun. And like you said, the cross-training aspect of it, that's great in terms of knowing exactly where everyone's going to be, Matt. But also look at Josh Allen. Allen is that guy that sometimes will break away from the pocket, use his legs to keep plays alive. If they know exactly what each route's going to be, that's also going to help in terms of coming back or breaking down the field. They're going to know, okay, I can take this part of the field and try to create an open passing lane for Josh Allen, a big play down the field. It's not just the traditional routes. It's what they can do on those plays where they might have to get open when Allen is scrambling and using his legs.
Johnny Mack over on YouTube. Glad to see we are seeing the offense getting it going. He is one of our YouTube subscribers. Thank you so much, buddy. This is like a cool feature. Like if you want your comments featured in the live show, become a subscriber on YouTube. We had one yesterday during the show, and those pop up in a big way on our side, and we'll get them onto the screen so you can participate in the show. Before we move on to the next part of observations, we got a little breaking news. The Talbot family yesterday had a little bit of an addition to the fam. Ryan, tell us a little bit about it. Reggie has a new friend.
Reggie does have a new friend, renamed Honey. We got her from Pixie Mama's Rescue. We were at Mafia Con last Saturday, and after the event, we went to one of the breweries where Pixie Mama's Rescue comes. They bring their dogs. You can meet them, and at the Flying Bison. So sure enough, we met Honey, and Honey went right over to me, sat in my lap, fell asleep, and we made sure to put in an application. And within the week, we were able to get her into the household. She's sleeping on my lap right now. She's going to make the trip to Rochester with us because my parents usually dog sit for us on these longer trips. They just got a cat of their own, so it's already a little bit chaotic there. And we're gonna take Honey for this first one for the weekend, and I think that's probably a good thing. But running around the house this morning after getting a bath with Reggie, and they're living it up.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank
Couldn't have think of a better home for Honey to find. So that's really cool. Where do you want to go next, bud?
Real quick, Dr. Q and A-Train. One just subscribed here. One is a new subtext member. Appreciate you both. Means a lot to us. You know, I want to go. I had it Mack Hollins. Let's talk another wide receiver. This is a guy. I'm not going to toot my own horn just yet, Matt Parrino, but I have been saying wide receiver number 4 on this team. I know MVS has can stretch the field. I said Mack Hollins can play, and he can do a lot of everything. And today you got to see a little bit of it.
Mack Hollins had a really nice day today, and you see the full experience of Mack Hollins. And Joe Brady, before practice today, was asked about him, and he said he's his favorite person he's ever met. Now, maybe some hyperbole there a little bit from Joe Brady, but I asked Mack Hollins about it after practice because he was the last one there. I mean, he spent 30 minutes practicing after practice, like running routes. He did some stuff off to the side with Lawrence Keys. Then he went to the line on the far fence and he signed autographs for what seemed like forever. I think it was like another 30 minutes. So after practice ended, he was still out there for another hour. And he had himself a really nice day. And it's just the little things that he does. I mean, he seems like a guy that makes himself available to the quarterback, which I think is going to make him a favorite of Josh Allen's. When the ball is thrown his way, he catches it. You know, Dawson Knox, we probably didn't talk enough about him yesterday. He had a really nice day, a couple touchdowns, had a drop today. And you think about that. And at least early on here, going back to the spring and in the first couple of days of training camp, Mack Hollins has been really reliable. And that to me is where he's going to set himself apart and have a role in this offense. He's had some nice seasons. I mean, people forget about his season with the Las Vegas Raiders. He is a guy that has been kind of hanging around in the NFL for a bunch of years. I remember the one season he went off. He had
690, I believe, 4.
I got it right here. So he had 690 and 4 touchdowns in 2022 with the Raiders. And actually that was almost as much as his first 5 years in the league combined. Almost. I think he had more. But he had 6 touchdowns in his first 5 seasons, had 4 in 2022. And I remember he was kind of like a hot fantasy addition in a lot of leagues, and it kind of fell off. And then I think he went to Atlanta last year and it just didn't work. That offense was deplorable. So this is a chance for him to be in an offense and a place that values him, values what he brings from a leadership perspective. And he loves walking around with no shoes on.
Yeah, one of the most interesting guys out there. Great piece was written on him, I believe, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, out by The Athletic, talking about you get inside the mind of him a little bit. He's freaked out by cats. There's all these really interesting and funny things in there, but he's a very unique individual. And, you know, he likes being barefoot. Today, he looked like a 90s pro wrestler with some of the streamers in front of him and the way he's dressed there. But great
I got
leader.
a picture of it, Ryan. Don't
there
worry.
It
I'm
is.
going to leave you hanging. He looked like a character out of like Gladiator or something.
Yeah,
and then, of course,
true.
He spent most of the time after practice with the shoes, but as soon as we got to the closer guardrail, he had to take them off.
You had to go off. Yeah, but great on special teams, outstanding blocker, someone that can catch the ball and be a part of this offense when called upon. And again, wide receiver 4 might not be utilized a ton this year. The first 3 in front of him are going to be heavily utilized in this offense. Dalton Kincaid's going to be heavily utilized. James Cook, and the list goes on. But he's a solid player. He's a guy that has proven he can do it all in terms of playing on special teams, blocking, you name it. So when his number gets called, he will be ready if called upon.
Johnny Mack here said he watched Josh Allen on Eric Wood's podcast. That dropped, I believe, this morning. I'm probably going to crush that on the way back to Buffalo tonight. Eric Wood does a great job. He's had just a great bevy of guests lately. It's been great listens. Shout out to E. Wood. He said Allen was talking about staying in the pocket and not taking as much punishment, which I think is smart. I'd like to see him in better shape late in the season. 17 games will eat you up. I think that's right on the money, Johnny. I think what's interesting too, Ryan, is like I was talking on the sideline with Jonah Bronstein from Channel 4. Like Josh looks like thinner. He looks like he's a little bit more trim than he usually comes to camp. I think he I don't want to say balloons up, but gets a little bit bigger, probably isn't as keen on the diet in the off season. And once he gets back to camp, he's so active, the weight falls off of him, but he's come in and it looks a lot trimmer. So I think like being able to be in the pocket, being a little bit quicker, lighter on his feet, maybe that was one of the things he really focused on. And you're seeing that. Like Brady mentioned it today too, before practice, like, I want to see at the end of the day, when we put on the tape from practice, that Allen's not only finding success on the plays where he's hitting his first read, but he's getting his eyes across the formation, going on to the second and the third, and still finding a way to make a play and a good throw. And I think you saw it a couple times today. The throw, well, I'll give shout out to Mitch Trubisky. I think it was a third read throw to Mack Hollins, but a couple of them, I think it was a second or third read throw to Curtis Samuel, the second one that I was talking about there.
Yeah, it's exciting to see what this offense could look like, especially with Josh Allen at the helm. And, staying in the pocket, I think that's a great plan. And I was recently going back and watching some of the games after Joe Brady became the interim offensive coordinator. Even though that wasn't necessarily his system down the stretch, I thought Brady did a really good job of giving Allen some short intermediate layup, some easier passes that would go for good gains, that would move the chains. where they weren't as dependent on having to be in these third and long situations, or having to have Josh Allen create. Now, Allen also ran more under Joe Brady. That's for sure. But I was very encouraged by the things I saw from Allen once Brady took over last season in terms of those being, using his instincts to get the ball out a little bit faster and trusting his guys to move the chains and get good chunks after the play was over. I think you're going to see that a lot more. He's going to put Josh Allen, already one of the best quarterbacks in this league, in advantageous situations, which is only going to elevate his game.
Here's the thing, Ryan. In the comments here, our good buddy and insider David Trelizio makes a little bit of a comment here that my dorm room looks kind of messy. And listen, that is kind of the motif that I'm going for. Got into the dorms yesterday. I'm trying to be a little bit messy. Things kind of strewn across the place here. But listen, I'll clean up a little bit. I have no problem with that. If you're gonna be like Dad there, David, comes into the dorm room and says, clean this mess up. I'll do it for you. I'll move some of that stuff.
I'm telling you, living that dorm life. I remember my dorm was pretty messy at St. Bonaventure back in the day. It's, he's getting to live that dorm life once again, where he's not picking up after himself and kids. And I know Caitlin obviously has a big role in cleaning up after everyone there as well. But this is the good life. You can throw something down, and I'll get to that later, and not have to worry about a shocker from Caitlin in the comments. Ouch. That always makes you laugh. But yeah, I remember that life very well.
Yeah. Don't look at Matt's sections of our house. I just ignore those zones now. Smart. That's smart. But listen, here's the thing, Ryan. All the focus is on the work, right? Getting the insider text line is absolutely firing at a ferocious pace. And that's another one of David's messages here. These gents are lighting up my phone. Love it. But coworkers think I'm very popular between the Bills app making noise and my text messages. That's what we want everybody to think. You are in the know. You know everything that's happening at training camp before anybody else. I was actually able to text during practice today. I was sending out videos from the open portion. And so we're going to continue to fire those off in a big way. The insider text line, you could join right now by texting 716-528-6727. 2-week free trial, $3.99 a month after that, or go to joinsubtext.com/shoutbuffalobills. Put in your information. You'll get a sign up details back once you do that, and then you're in. And then you'll get daily updates, all of them. Text just flooding in every day with our thoughts on, the big performances of the day, what it means for the offense, the defense, special teams as we kind of move this thing along. And it's 2-week free trial, $3.99 a month after that, $50 for the year, Ryan, and you have access to me and you anytime, day or night. I think it's a great deal. And the text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Byer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you or someone you know is seriously injured, give them a call at 716-852-1234 or go to litrolaw.com.
Yeah, well worth it. And listen, training camp, Matt, is 9:45 in the morning, 9:15 with the pressers. A lot of people are working at that time, so you can't follow the updates necessarily any other way than via text message. So this is a great way to get your Bills news right to your phone. Can't beat this deal. Check it out, Bills Mafia. Before we go to, I see you laughing here at some of the comments from a few people, I'm sure, but as we shift gears here, Matt, before we go to some of the standout performances, maybe on the other side of the ball, how about a little UDFA love for some players? You had two on defense. No.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's get into it. I gave a little bit of a spoiler yesterday, or a preview
for one,
and talked about him today in the text line. 2 days in a row, Kani Lovely at cornerback. This is a guy that I kind of found in the spring period, doing a really nice job. He's so feisty. He competes on every play. He's got kind of an attitude. And to me, it kind of fits in with that group, right? Dane Jackson off the field was the nicest guy ever. He'd walk up to you. You'd have a conversation with him. Christian Benford is a little bit more mysterious, a little bit quieter. But I'll tell you, the way that he plays, the way that he talks, he's the last person I'm starting to fight with if I'm on the opposite side. We talked about that yesterday. Yeah. But Lovely to me fits that mold. And to me, he reminds me a little bit of Dane Jackson in the way that he plays, the way that he scraps and fights. Like, what's the highlight? Let's see if you have the one. What's the highlight of Dane Jackson's career with the Bills?
Ooh, the highlight of his career. Off the top of my head, I'm going blank. I mean, he had some big moments, though.
Mine is, I think, his first ever game when he had to go line up against DeAndre Hopkins and had that pass breakup in the
Yeah,
end zone.
in the end
Like,
zone.
that to me epitomized who Dane Jackson was. And like, I feel like if Lovely got thrown out into a game at some point this season and had to go up against a similar kind of quality player as DeAndre Hopkins 5 years ago, he'd be gamed up for that challenge. And that's what you have to prove in this defense to Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, position coach now, Joe Dana. You have to be so scrappy. And like, Jamarcus Ingram has fit into that mold. They're working on everything like that with sometimes Kyer Elam's a little bit too scrappy. And that's huge. So like, if he can do that, that's a chance for a fifth boundary cornerback, or maybe even pushing a guy like Jamarcus Ingram for a spot on that 53. We'll see how this transpires and what he's able to do down the stretch here. But I want to see him in preseason. The other guy, to Corey Couch, who had a nice spring as well. Another pass breakup today. A lot of juice on his end as well. So two guys that I'm really just keyed in on watching, and we'll see if either of them can kind of break through to the second team. They haven't done a lot of that yet. If they have, I haven't caught it. One other note, safety wise, defensive back, DeMar Hamlin was back on the second team today. Mike Edwards finally got his shot to play first team, and he made the most of it. I thought he had, on a pass to James Cook, a really nice pursuit for what would have been a tackle of the pads if it had been a regular game. And I think at the time he was getting held by David Edwards. So it was like a really nice play. He got to start today. I thought made the most of it.
Yeah, so those, the UDFAs real quick, there's a open opportunity there maybe at cornerback to claim a spot. We've talked about the depth, the question marks. So Lovely has a real chance there. One thing on Couch as well. Couch already has played with Jamil Adai, a new coach here in Buffalo. They have that experience from Miami together. Read a really good piece on Couch this summer, how he came in for his fifth year in Miami and he bulked up, which for him was going from about 170 to about 182, 185. Really took on more of a leadership role and ended up having one of his best seasons, 3 interceptions, helping that Miami defense out a lot. So he already has a relationship with one of the defense coaches here in Buffalo. If as long as he shines during training camp in the preseason, you would think this is at least a guy that is going to be on the practice squad that they're going to try to develop and bring along like they've done with some other either late round picks or UDFAs.
Where do you want to go next, buddy?
Let's talk a little bit of the edge rusher position in terms of, again, some observations. Who was with that second team, that DN4, who has been standing out, who hasn't been standing out?
So first off, Dwayne Smoot got his first run with the first team today. So that was obviously very noteworthy. And his sack, he did have one sack on the day, but it came on a second team rep working against Ryan Vandemark. So I don't want to go too gaga over that. And the fact is, when he's been out there with the ones, I haven't noticed him a ton. But that's a good sign if you're in the Dwayne Smoot's going to make the roster camp, because
Right.
it tells you a little bit about how they view him. And right now the pads aren't on yet. Like the way that Smoot plays, he's not a guy that's going to be bending around the edge. He kind of fits their more typical mold. I think he wants to add a little bit of physicality, try to get rough and tough with, you don't want to do that with Deion Dawkins, but maybe try your hand with Spencer Brown, or if somebody else is in. But he's making some strides and they're giving him more responsibility, more opportunity. I thought that was noteworthy. Greg Rousseau had a pass breakup today. He's in midseason form. I wrote that to the insiders, same as Ed Oliver, who had a tackle for a loss on a James Cook run, just absolutely busting through the line. And Bobby Babich running over and making sure to dap up Ed Oliver for his efforts, asking about when the pads come on. 4 or 5 days usually into training camp. So we're on day 2 today, so maybe a couple more. I thought Epinesa looked good. Again, the reps are tough. He's going against Deion Dawkins a lot of the times, and you're not going to win a lot of those moments. Deion Dawkins is about as stingy as it comes in terms of one-on-one matchups when in these 11-on-11 situations. Dwayne Carter had a sack today. I think he was working against either Lyle Collins or maybe he was on the other side against Alec Anderson. But yeah, we'll clap in at that second team offensive center as well.
Yeah. So first of all, Greg Rousseau, the whole thing with him has been health. As long as you stay healthy, I expect big things from him. Smoot, I was in the not making the roster prediction on my last 53-man roster projection pre-camp. But like you said, this shows where the Bills at least currently have him slotted in their minds, giving him some first team run. Likely then part of that second team unit behind Von Miller and Greg Rousseau, probably, alongside an AJ Epinesa type of player. Still an open competition, though. You noted today Casey Toohill has not necessarily risen to the occasion yet either at that position. So, it could just come down to, as this camp goes on, as the preseason goes on, who really makes their mark there in that depth role, because there's at least one job there for the claiming off the edge, and it's going to be kind of fun to watch with some of these veteran players.
David Trelizio, one of our insiders, good question here. Which of the rookies do you think will contribute the fastest? And it's an interesting question because you can look at it two ways, Ryan. First of all, like who contributes like minimally, like who has some type of imprint on a game the soonest, or who has the biggest contribution this season, right? And I get it. The question is fastest. I think we could kind of take both of those angles. I'll talk about Javon Solomon here in a moment. But to me, the path is easiest to immediate impact for Keon Coleman. Like I think he's going to have the biggest part of playing time. After that, probably Dwayne Carter is somebody that's going to be in the mix in that rotation. I specifically watched Lion play today, and I can't tell you a single time that I noticed number 93, Deshaun Williams. So, I was lower on him when they signed him. I thought after they signed or they drafted Dwayne Carter, he kind of fell down the depth chart for me. We'll see once the pads come on if he makes any kind of noise. But I just think that it's going to be Keon Coleman because he's already got this opportunity at the position because of the lack of high-end options there. And then also the fact that he's their top draft pick and they're going to want to give him opportunities.
Right there with you. I'd go Keon Coleman 1, Dwayne Carter 2, and then I'd probably go Ray Davis 3 because Davis has the opportunity to potentially be
got to hit on him.
Potentially to be a running back 2, but even as running back 3, he could get a few carries per game. We could see if he factors in on special teams. That would be it. Cole Bishop eventually I have rising up those rankings, but if you're talking immediate week 1, that's probably right now at least how I would have it.
While you're on Ray Davis, and we should probably talk a little bit about the running backs, and we'll get to Solomon. Remind me to come back on that. And I want to talk also about some of the young offensive linemen who I thought had a good day. Is that a Fresca, by the way?
Oh, it sure is. I love me a good Fresca.
Yeah, where do you get the Frescas?
Tops. I actually get them there.
Usually, where do you shop for them? In the water section?
There's sometimes with the water, sometimes with the sodas, but it's like the buy 2 get 4 free.
They're with probably the sodas actually. Okay,
yeah.
I call it pop, but whatever. I've been going in the water section and I've been looking for them because I had two things. I had the regular Fresca, which is the water, the sparkling water, but I also had the alcoholic, like a spritzer. What are those things called? The seltzers. Fresca makes one of those now.
Really?
I had a couple of those on the golf course a couple weeks ago, dude. Ooh. Next level. That might be my favorite seltzer that I've ever had.
Didn't even know they'd made those. I'll have to maybe check those out. Interesting.
Let's do a little research, a little recon on that. Figure it out. I can't find them. Wherever I look, I can't find them.
I'll look.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right. Ray Davis. First team reps today. Big advance, big news. First play that he's in the game or in the drill. I write down, Ray Davis, first team rep, notable. I look back up. There's Josh Allen pitching the ball to Ray Davis, waiting for a run to the outside, and he coughs it up. He fumbles the football. And you could see the disdain on the face of Sean McDermott. And I think, like, to a degree, he wanted to holster that a little bit because it's a rookie. It's a 4th round draft pick. Had a bad moment. You could see him kind of like frustrated, like whenever a guy puts the ball on the floor. But he bounced back, Ryan, in a big way. Ray Davis had himself a really nice day after that, had some runs on the second team, had a run, I think, or two on the first team, like explosive runs. Like he hits the whole heart. Like that's my biggest takeaway from Davis. And he's also really tough to handle inside the tackles. And that's where I think he's going to pay the biggest dividends. A really nice day for him after a inauspicious start, but he bounced back really nicely.
Yeah, better to have a fumble on your first snap at training camp than in your first live game, right? I mean, that's what happened with James Cook, and Cook kind of went into the doghouse that game, but we've seen how he's bounced back and become a major contributor for this team. But Ray Davis isn't a player that I have many concerns about in terms of, fumbling, things like that. It's going to happen at camp. You're going to have those hiccups. You're going to work on ball control. He is someone, though, that was pretty sure-handed in college, someone that we've already talked about. This can block, can run between the tackles to the outside. Like you said, it's also the way you respond, and he responded very well to an early mistake, and he made up for that. And that's also the fastest way to kind of boost yourself back up in terms of the trust, how the team views you. If he makes those big plays, one bad play here or there, a drop, or, you don't want to see him fumbling it regularly, obviously, but big plays can often help, alleviate some of those concerns.
We're about over 1,000 here at 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon. Bills fans are amazing. It's amazing. Like these camp episodes, like in the middle of a workday, people tuning in. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We really appreciate it. We're on the hunt for, on the path to 12,000 subscribers on YouTube. Another thing, I was talking to Jenna Cottrell on the sideline today, and we are going to try to put together, maybe for this weekend, a Buffalo Plus shout super pod.
I love it.
So stay tuned for that. Maybe sometime this weekend with Ryan in town. We'll see if we can't set that up. I'm going to talk to those folks tomorrow. They do a great job over there. And I've gotten that request a couple times from some fans, like a big megapod with those three. And so we'll try to put something together while we're out here at training camp. So this Sunday is, what is it, July 30th?
28th, I believe.
28th. All right. A week from this Sunday is August 4th, and we're going to be at Dorado on Park Avenue here in Rochester. It is going to be our summer spectacular. Wingnuts is coming. We'll be out there at about 2:00, a couple hours after the end of practice. If you're going to be in town, if you live in Rochester, if you're coming up for practice, come hang out with us August 4th over at Dorado. There's going to be wings, all the Mexican food that you can eat at Dorado, the drinks, the specials, all of it. It's going to be a great time. Ryan, we can't wait for this one.
Oh, so pumped up. We had a great time at Dorado last year. Like you said, Wingnuts is coming back. Tons of wings, tons of flavors and opportunities there. Get some great Mexican food too. Drink specials are off the charts. You're not going to have a bad time. Come join us next Sunday at Dorado. Matt, before we shift gears back into some of the players you want to discuss, a few comments about Gable Steveson. Nothing really to report there. Am I incorrect in saying that?
Yeah, pretty invisible at this point. And I'm not surprised. Like the guy's still learning how to play football. I've not noticed him a ton. I was actually talking with Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News on the sideline as well. He really hasn't either. So we'll continue to look out for him. And we'll see next time we talk to Sean McDermott. I think we have Bobby Babich tomorrow morning. So maybe we could ask him about the kind of progress that he's seen from Gable, and maybe the stuff that they've had on tape. But usually on the interior, first of all, I think the pads are going to be necessary to really kind of see when he's busting through the line and so on and so forth. But no, not a lot from Steveson. But I will say the other guy that's in the similar spot to him is Travis Clayton, the 7th round pick from the UK, who had never played football before. He's learning the same speed and rate as Steveson. I thought he was outstanding today, Ryan. He was on the 3rd team, and it was a blitzing safety that I really noticed him on. But think about this. You're a offensive lineman, never played the game before. You're trying to figure all this out. And I feel like the fact that an AK Cash makes a point here, and I'm totally on board with him, it looked like Travis Clayton didn't look out of place with the threes today. 100%. That's just it. Being able to kind of come off of your block, against the lineman, pick up a safety. To me, that's next level stuff. So I thought that Clayton was a bright spot today. If that's something where he's going to continue to make incremental gains and incremental games, I'm looking out for him, because beyond Ryan Vandermark, the depth of tackle, it's a real question mark. I'm not overly impressed. As a matter of fact, I think Lyle Collins should make the full shift to guard. Like, I think he's cooked at tackle. It looked really bad today. Tylen Grable, though, he had himself a nice day, shutting down Casey Toohill on one rep, where I'm like, all right, this is a guy that, you had at making it on your 53, obviously the special teams acumen, but that's a big feather in his cap, the rookie 6th rounder. A big day for those young tackles.
Huge day. And both of them are raw prospects. I know Grable played in college, but this is a guy that went from high school quarterback to tight end to then offensive tackle in college. 1 year tried at tight end, then they moved him. So he doesn't have a lot of reps under his belt. He played very well in his second season in a bigger program. First year was some ups and downs. He has the talent. He's, again, a raw prospect. So the more plays that he makes in those situations, the better. As for Travis Clayton, that international pathway program, I think it's like I can't remember if it's a 6-week type of training program. It's still not much, though. So, in that time, he's expected to learn the game of football. He goes and he, rips up or tears up that combine in terms of his testing scores and how he plays. So it's exciting to see, though, how much he's learned and grown so quickly, and if it's something that he can continue to do as well, because I have him as that extra practice squad spot. I'm not going to come off of that after one, notable play like that. I think that he will learn a lot 1 year on a practice squad when the Bills get that extra spot for him, but it's still encouraging to see that some of these young guys with limited experience are stepping up for the Bills.
Anything you want to knock out before we get out of here?
Solomon and VPG, the reminders. I see him in the chat. I'm going to make sure we cover it.
So Javon Solomon had one rep today that I was just kind of, and I was looking more for him because I know insiders were asking me about him. People were asking in the chat here. So I had my antenna up for 56, a lot more today. And man, I just got a whole lot of nothing. Like, the big problem for him, especially without, still kind of building at the beginning of camp, if he doesn't win on that speed move, I feel like he gets swallowed up really easily. And he lost on a rep today against Trey McKitty, who is like the 5th or 6th tight end on the roster. I think the 5th. That's not going to cut it, guys. Like, that's going to be something where that's a real problem if you're getting into a preseason game against the other team's 3s and you can't win against, a tight end on his own. Like, that's got to be something that, I know he's a speed guy, but you got to be able to bowl through the guy. And McKitty's a little bit bigger. Like, he's not, the typical smaller tight end. Like, I'd imagine if it was Reggie Gilliam or something like that, he would have had a little bit more success. But just across the board, I just feel like he's getting swallowed up quite a bit. I'm not seeing him in the backfield a ton on the third team. But again, it's early. I'm not seeing every single thing. And I got to be honest with you, like, the third team is where I probably noticed the least, because I'm usually just kind of like updating everything and so on and so forth. But I was specifically looking for him today and just not a lot of pop plays.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on him this weekend as well. Maybe when the pads come on, he'll be able to utilize that speed to offset maybe some of these other guys in terms of maybe it slows them down. We'll see. It's still early, like Matt said. Solomon had a lot of production at the college level, but coming into your first training camp, going against pros, it can be a wake-up call in terms of, this is not as easy as it was, at Troy, where he did go up against some good competition, but there's a learning curve there to be sure. And Van Pran Granger, Matt.
Not much from him today. Still on the third team. Nothing to report. I didn't have anything. Didn't notice him in a bad way, which is a good thing a lot of times on the offensive line.
Very good. All right. Anything else you want to cover?
Sometimes I like putting you in that spot where
that's right.
How are we going to transition out of this? Am I going to pick it up? Are you going to kind of go on your own? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think Bills Mafia, I will be with Matt tomorrow morning. Day 3 training camp. Excited about it. Cannot wait to be there. I'll be there with him again on Sunday. So 2 straight practices. You'll have the Shout guys together. We'll pod after both practices. Stay locked in to Syracuse.com and NYUp.com as well. And Shout Insiders prepare to be bombarded with more texts over the next 2 out of the next 3 days.
David, Ryan is not on his way to clean the room. The room will stay in this state all the way through training camp. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move things out of the way so you can't see them. I'll just put it all in the bed. I know I took a little heat in the comments about that, but listen, it's a dorm room. Trying to live up to, speaking of dorm rooms, Dom from Channel 7, Dom Tibbetts, great guy. Love Dom. Might have to bring him down here, have a little segment on dorm life. Dude, I popped my head into this dude's dorm room, and I'm not kidding, Ryan. It is unbelievable how much stuff he had in the dorm room. Like, his whole shelves were loaded. He had pretzels, he had cookies, he had bagels, he had coffee. You would think he literally shopped like he was going on vacation somewhere for a week. I'm like, dude, this is next level. This is the room I want to be in all week long.
Or like parents sending their kid off to college with all the snacks and the treats for those first. Dom's ready, it sounds like. We'll have to check that out tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, guys, bunk beds is going to be tough this year. They put them down. They put the beds down a little bit. Well, I'll show you that tomorrow. All right. For Ryan Talbot, I'm Matt Parrino. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your Thursday.